Hey, we have some great news for you. We are so proud to welcome the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of 2A advocates, offer elite self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors, and provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. Learn more about them at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com. All right, man, who's our next guest?
Next guest has been with us before, and we always get a lot of really positive feedback. In fact, some of our most popular episodes have been with Clint Smith from Thunder Ranch. Clint, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you. How are you?
You doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. I got to tell you, we last time we interviewed you, we got so much positive feedback.
Yeah.
I mean, you already know that you're extremely well respected, extremely well known in the industry. But I just wanted you to know our listeners loved hearing from you and know exactly who you are, and demanded we have you back.
Well, I appreciate it. Hopefully we can always kind of contribute something.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job. Now, a book just came out, Urban Rifle 2. Tell us a little bit about Urban Rifle 2.
The book is basically an upgrade, shall we say, or an update of the original Urban Rifle book, and this is 2. And then we just came out, I think, in the last couple weeks with the audio version. And instead of having somebody we'll say from Hollywood read it. I read it myself. So we put a bunch of extra stuff in, like sidebars. And the reason, a lot of times you'll get some information like that, but you don't know what it's based on. So I did it and it was fun. I'm sure the guy who edited it wasn't fun for him, but I had a great time doing it because I got to say what I thought and then give people the background on it too.
You're definitely not shy about saying what you think.
Well, yeah, the problem with it is everybody needs to sugarcoat everything today and not hurt anyone's feelings. And to be honest with you, there are some people that need their feelings hurt, if nothing else, just because they're stupid. So it's the way it is.
All right. So what does the term urban rifle refer to for people that don't know? What does that mean?
Okay, so the deal with it is it addresses like any rifle, but for that time frame that I started it in 1983 is when I first started teaching the class by that name. Urban Rifle basically is an AR platform. It's diversified into other things. I mean, I actually have taken my own class using a single-shot rifle just to show that I could do it. But in layman's terms, urban rifle is how to fight with a rifle inside what you'd normally consider to be a pistol range. And the same thing, I know that most police, qualifications or a lot of qualifications for concealed carry are like 10 yards or 15 yards. But, and, the 70s and 80s, we were shooting handguns at 50 yards real regular as far as just for qualifications, like, just regular people and, of course, law enforcement, too, because that's where my background came from. So it's how to fight with a rifle inside what you normally consider a pistol range. So I always want people to be able to control. You could use the word dominate or however. I think you should, whatever the distance, the width of your car, the length of your car. 2 cars are better because it's better protection. And then the farthest distance you can see inside your house. And how I would do that is lay down a steel tape and then create that distance at the range. And then anything else after that, to be honest with you, is gravy. Somebody goes, hey, I want to hit a guy at 500 yards. I don't know why. If he was 500 yards away, I'd go the other way just so I didn't get, involved. I don't want to fill out the paperwork.
So this it's not about hunting. It's not necessarily precision, maybe what a lot of people would consider precision rifle work. This is, you're in a suburban area, you're in an urban area. This is for home defense. This is for self-defense in areas where frankly, most human beings live in the United States these days.
Well, the whole world becomes more urbanized on a daily basis. And you mentioned the word precision. And I think there are 2 areas that we address. All shooting should be precision shooting, all shooting. I don't care what it is. Okay. But in the AR platform, it's really critical that people understand that they're also a surgical application, because at 25 yards or closer, 75 feet, no matter what the zero on the rifle is, in other words, guy goes, I have it zeroed at 100. It doesn't matter. At 25 yards and closer, the offset, that's the difference between the height of the sight and the axis of the bore, are going to get people in trouble if they don't understand it. And that's probably one of the single biggest teaching points that I push people on really hard, is to basically do that and be able to do that on their feet, shall we say, at distances that you would consider to be like inside your house.
And the book talks about tell us a little bit more about the content of the book. Is it making the case that rifles are good for urban defense and self-defense, or is it more of a teaching book? Or tell us a little bit about the actual content. What are people going to learn in the book?
The content of the book, in my mind's eye, was so that people could literally take the book based on its size and everything, that they could literally take it to their range with them. And then if they, for example, let's say they wanted to shoot a brace kneeling position, or they wanted to understand reverse kneeling because they gave them more protection of cover, then this gave them photographs and all the information to do so. And it also, in the book, for example, stresses a lot about what we talked about, offset. So it's a book that you could, in theory, read, but it's also, in my mind's eye, a range manual. And all this sounds like a sales pitch, and I guess. But I can honestly say you brought it up. But the point of it is it's to help people that maybe don't always grasp what's going on. Because if you take comparable mediums, we'll talk about like walls inside your house. If you shoot, for example, 9mm, we'll say ball ammunition, and a .223 round, if they go through exactly the same mediums, most of the time the handgun round goes through more walls than a rifle round. So the comparison is the 9mm is a, shall we say, a steel hauler loaded with steel, and the .223 is a Corvette. They both leave the road, going at the same speed, and go through a bunch of trees. You already know the Corvette isn't going to hold up. So the thing that we like about the rifle is the velocity, because it's more effective. But we also, need to understand that people always go, oh, I should use a handgun. And then, we always get the argument about like, oh, well, shotguns are better. Well, there's no question. If you use a shotgun for home defense and you aim the gun and hit what you're aiming at, you're going to probably screw it up. But the problem with it is that with shotguns is people don't understand that inside their house, a shotgun is actually still a rifle because the pattern hasn't opened up enough. So if someone goes, would you use a rifle for home defense? My answer would be absolutely yes. If I lived, for example, in a mobile home park, I wouldn't want to use SS-109 green tips. It's a core penetrator. So in other words, now I'm starting to build custom cabinets with a chainsaw. In other words, it's not the right tool. And that's the thing that we're trying to get across to people.
Well, and that's actually why I bring it up. I'm asking you a lot of questions that I already know the answer to, because it is a sales pitch. I want people to read Urban Rifle and also Urban Rifle 2 because of what you just talked about. I think a lot of people have, they go out and buy an AR, they maybe take a class or two, but in my experience, it kind of sits in the safe, or they take it and it's kind of a cool, neat thing. To use your analogy, it's like it's the Corvette that just kind of sits in the garage and maybe they take it out on Sunday and and cruise it around. But this thing's not a Corvette. It's a hammer. It's a tool, and I think it's a very effective tool, and it's an extremely effective firearm. People should use it for home defense and for political reasons, for lack of a better term. Or for optics, maybe. Well, no, that would confuse gun owners. For political reasons, political opinions, I think a lot of people, look at the AR as, this exotic animal when really it's an extremely effective firearm. It's extremely good for home defense. And I think people should use it that way, which is, I was so glad to hear what you just said, but also you stress that point fairly frequently.
Well, I think the thing about it is when it comes to the rifle, people go, well, that's too much. I don't know what's too much when someone's in your home trying to take your life and your family's life. I don't. That would be, the fancy lawyer word then becomes arguable. But I do know this, because you do it on a regular basis. There's a very high percentage, like a nominal 80% of people shot by handguns in hostile, shall we say, situations, even shot multiple times, survive. I think that I might be better to shoot one round well, effectively, and stop the fight, and the rifle's better, and there's no question, than shoot multiple rounds from a handgun, and now I have a lawyer attached to all these bullets that are wandering around through walls and buildings and apartments and everything else. So, people always go, well, the single biggest thing I would say about the rifles is that people don't carry their rifles. So they have and build rifles that are over the top. They'll have like a long barrel. They'll have like a heavy barrel. And I'm not talking about violating the law. And, if you get a 16-inch barrel, that's fine. But the deal, and people go like, well, we can only have 10 rounds. Okay, so you're telling me you don't know how to reload? If that's a skill set that you think you're going to need, then I already think that you and I both know the answer to that, So I think it's a very viable tool, and I think it can solve a lot of problems in a much more expedited manner. Do I want to use it? No, I'd rather not. I also have a fire extinguisher beside my bed, and I'd rather not use that if my house is on fire. So, at what point does the fire extinguisher and, a spare tire in your car, do those become paranoia? And so in my mind's eye, the rifle makes it a much more efficient tool. It simply stops whatever the problem is sooner.
Stops the problem sooner. I like it. So we're talking with Clint Smith from Thunder Ranch, and we're gonna go to a break here. But when we get back, Clint, I want to talk to you a little bit more. I want to talk a little bit about some of the new courses you have to offer in 2021. But then I kind of want to do a quick fire. I want to get some opinions from you. Some of the more common debates from gun guys, and I want to just do kind of a quick fire,
girls,
and gun girls, quick fire. Which is better, this or that, and see if we can get a bunch of quick answers from you. That'll be kind of fun.
Go to YouTube and put Gun Owners Radio. Click on the subscription button so you'll be on top of it all, and you can see Michael, Joe, and I live for another hour and a half. Hey, the California assault weapon law makes it almost impossible to own an AR-style rifle. What is the solution? Buy a Cali Key for your rifle. Cali Key converts any mil-spec direct impingement AR-15 or AR-10 into a bolt-action rifle so it can have all the features without being considered an assault weapon. It's a true drop-in solution. No milling, no aesthetic modifications, and no turning off your gas system. Keep your entire AR collection intact at a price you can afford with Cali Key. Check out Cali Key at CaliKey.com. That's KALIKEY.com. And for those of you watching our show online, again, please hit the subscription button. All right, we're bringing back Clint Smith. He's from Thunder Ranch. Clint, thanks for hanging in there.
Hey, Clint, we were just talking about ARs in general and your book, Urban Rifle 1 and 2. And off air, Joe and I were here in the studio. We're just discussing before we move on. How many times there's all this discussion. Don't use a rifle for home defense because everybody is convinced it's going to go right through drywall and it's going to magically find its way to your closest neighbor. And how often? I don't know if you even know the answer to this or if you've seen statistics. I know that I've seen news stories where some gang member, sprays, a neighborhood or a house with bullets and people, unintentionally get hit. But how often, or have you seen statistics, that show a person defending their home with a rifle and unintentionally hitting somebody, like a neighbor because it went through drywall? Does that happen with any consistency? Clint?
Of a case of the round going through and hitting somebody like in that context. The biggest issue has been the people have been hit, like especially in law enforcement applications where people forgot the offset and they were aiming at one thing and hit something else.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as if you ask me, do I know of some case where someone shot a rifle for home defense that went out and shot a neighbor? I don't know of one.
Yeah, I think I'm not saying it's not important. I mean, penetrating a wall, hitting somebody unintentionally when you're trying to defend your life, extremely important. But I'm wondering if maybe we're overthinking this one a little bit. I mean, the gun community in my humble opinion, has a tendency to make mountains out of molehills pretty easily. And I'm just, especially with what you've taught, what I've learned from you, listening to and reading some of the things that you've talked about, I'm wondering if maybe we're overthinking that a little bit. And then an AR is, in fact, a fantastic firearm choice when it comes to home defense.
I think so. The one argument is people go, oh, the gun's too big, like in length. And I'll go, so one of the demos that I always do whenever I have a rifle class is when we get ready to do the tactical house, which we call a think house because I want people to go in there and think. It's not like a shoot house or a kill house. Go in here and think about what's going to happen. I back a student up against the wall with a rifle mounted up, and then I back up next to him and draw a handgun and put it in a viable fighting position. With a full-length rifle, you're talking about an overall length difference of a nominal 6 inches. And now, as you know, and I know they're probably not legal in California because I can't remember what is or isn't from one day to the next. I don't know how you guys keep up with it, but
neither can we.
With handguns, which are rifle calibers, okay, they're going to be even shorter. And then now, of course, you have this pistol caliber carbine argument going all the time. And I kind of go, well, if I'm going to use a handgun, I'm going to use a handgun. And, it's there. I mean, there's still a lot of decent choices. You guys would know better than I do, but, like I said, tried to allude to a while ago, people generally make the guns big and bulky and heavy, and they don't have to be.
Right.
For example, what we consider the bottom rung of the ladder, as far as that, would be an M1 carbine from like World War II, Vietnam, Korea, all that stuff. It's a 5-pound rifle. It shoots a 110-grain bullet, 1,900 feet per second. There are lots of different cartridge designs as far as projectiles. So, for somebody, I've had people go like, well, that's a rifle for the weak and infirmed. And I kind of go, oh, you mean like the guys that landed at Omaha Beach in Iwo Jima? They were really infirmed. So, I think that you're exactly right. There's a lot of stuff in the industry that I think people, they come up with, and it's something, and I don't want to start a firestorm, but as an example, this appendix carry for concealed carry, people go, oh, this is really new and innovative. And I go, no, it isn't. I can show you a holster that was made in 1880, okay, that was carried exactly the same way. You're still got the thing pointed at your crotch. The only difference is with a single action army, there was no round under the hammer, where with something else, you might have a round under the hammer, as an example.
So that's actually a really good transition to, I want to ask you a bunch of questions, get some relatively quick answers on some really, really common, gun debates. It's a good place to start with the appendix carry. But let's start with 9mm versus 45.
There's no difference if you don't hit the target. You have to hit the target. They've all worked, and they've all failed. You have to have proper bullet placement.
Excellent. Okay, Glock versus 1911.
It doesn't matter. For me, I've shot a 1911 for 50 years, so I'm very acclimated to the gun. I realize it's old and archaic in design. Okay, the difference kind of is the same thing. A guy goes, I don't have to reload as much. And I would go, okay, great. That means I practice a skill that's going to be really important in a fight, which is reloading, because I have a single stack gun compared to a double. I own both guns, and I carry both guns, a Glock and a 1911. I know that shocks people, but I do. I own them both. So there's no argument. I think it's what people are most comfortable with, what fits their hand. I do know that the smaller the gun gets, the harder it is for me to teach people to use the gun effectively, because people carry it because it's concealable and it's comfortable. And I think if you and I could ever find a guy that thought that carrying a handgun concealed should be comfortable, we should both punch him in the mouth. They're not supposed to be comfortable. They're supposed to save your life at arm's length. Yeah. It's not supposed to be comfortable.
Okay. How about AK versus AR?
I've been shot by an AK, and I've used an AR for 50 years. I don't want to get shot by either of them, and they both are very effective. They do different things. I think the AR with the right setup on it, and I don't mean heavy, but I mean, for example, if you put a 1 to 4 power scope on an AR, it's much easier to mount. And I think if you use proper stuff like Black Hill 77 grain ammunition, we've stretched the gun to 700, and an AK, you can get hit at 700, but it's very hard to do it. I think the big area that everyone needs to concern themselves with is 0 to 300 yards. That's danger close. Your opponent doesn't have to have any degree of competency, but because of the ballistics of the 2 cartridges, all they have to do is point the gun at you, and there's the potential for you to get hit, so they're both effective.
Concealed carry versus open carry.
Open carry is stupid. Why would I play cards with my stuff facing the wrong way? And I got it. Somebody goes, the second minute. Yeah, I know. I read it. I read the Constitution. I read the Federalist Papers, and there's nothing in any of those documents that says anything about being stupid.
I like your analogies. You truly
true.
Are good at analogies. I like the why would I show everybody the cards I'm playing? I think that's great. Okay, Mossberg 500 versus Remington 870.
They're both solid guns. The Mossberg has a tendency to be a little bit better or different. And that being said, because it has a centerline safety, it makes it more ambidextrous, so it can be picked up by anybody, including someone who was injured. Where the 870, they both have twin action bars. And so they're both solid guns. I own both of those guns too.
What about boy? This might be a little. Talking about.
This isn't stump your nephew.
I know this is talk about mountain out a molehill. What about the 1911s? I think SIG makes. I know SIG makes one, and a couple others. The 1911s with the external extractor. They started doing that. I don't know, 25 years ago or something like that. How do you feel about them changing the design with the extra? You know what I'm talking about, or
I personally, I don't know why. I think SIG should stick to SIG pistols. People who do something really good, they should do it. I'd like to say that was true of Colt, and Colt would still be in business, but we know that that's not the case. But there are a lot of people who build, custom guns. So, for example, Nighthawk, and, there are different ones that build the guns the way that Browning designed them. It's guys that want to put a 10-round magazine in a 1911. If John Browning would have wanted the gun to hold 10 rounds, he would have built it that way.
Yeah. So, well, I really like, so you're very pragmatic. You're obviously very plain spoken. I appreciate that very much. But your opinions are all very pragmatic and aren't clouded by, passion or preference. I mean, you're obviously very passionate about your craft, but you're not
kind of black and white.
Very black and white. Like, hey, this is
this is what it is.
This is how it is, and I really, really appreciate that about your everything you teach.
Part of that is that I'm not being ugly, but it's one thing to just stroll through a gun store, doorway and just, hey, I want this, and oh, that's cool, and that. It's another thing if you have a class with 10 to 15 people every week, and you do it week after week after month after decade after 5 decades. It isn't even a case of being, I pick one over the other. I have personal preferences, but the deal with it is the people that I teach, it doesn't matter how I shoot when the class is over. It doesn't matter what gun I carry when the class is over. What matters is how they shoot and what they carry. And can they own the gun safely and responsibly without setting their leg on fire?
And so, all that, the pragmatism, the kind of, roll up your sleeves, down and dirty. Hey, look, this is how it is. Is fantastic. I think it makes you an excellent resource, an excellent teacher. But we just have a couple minutes. I really want to hear, why is this important to you? I don't mean from a pragmatic point of view. I mean, from a little bit deeper down. Why is gun ownership? Why is teaching people how to shoot? Why is this important? Why does it matter? Is it just another job, that you kind of do well and you get a paycheck? I don't think that's the case. Why does this make you burn inside?
I think there's a lot of people in this industry, our industry, your industry, my industry, that's exactly what they think. They're in it for the money, and they can kiss me right where the sun doesn't shine. And why I say that and why I'm adamant, and that did sound a little bit like ranty, but the deal with it is, this is what I believe deep inside. People who own guns will never be subjected to the whims of other people without their permission as long as they own a gun. That's why it's so important for us to keep the guns that we have. Now, that means we need to keep them safely and responsibly and, all the stuff that we already all know and all the little, trip levers and stuff. But what it really comes down to is I have the right to defend myself. And it wouldn't matter if I lived in Ethiopia. I still have that right. Now, I may not have that signed off by the people who theoretically govern me. But then as long as I'm behaving, why am I being governed? As long as I'm not robbing, raping, pillaging, plundering, why can't I own a gun? If I'm not robbing banks and I'm not hurting anybody, why can't I defend myself and my family?
Awesome. That's Clint Smith from Thunder Ranch. Check out his book, Urban Rifle 2. It's out now. You can Google it, find it all over the internet. Highly recommend it. Clint, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, very much. I appreciate what you do.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.